for us to let you know all about our employer services. So I know many of you might be familiar with the Intreo and the Department of Social Protection, but an awful lot of people aren't aware of our employer support. So this is a great opportunity to get the message out there. So thank you so much. So my name is Alan Stapleton. I'm what's known as an employer relations officer. So I'm based in Blanchardstown in Dublin's north side. But I suppose it's important to mention that there is an equivalent of me, an employer relations officer, in almost every county in Ireland. So that's important because no matter where you are or where your business is based, there's an employer relations officer who is designated to your area, who is available for you to reach out to after this or at any time you want, in order to avail of the 4 supports I'm going to go through with you today. So yeah, there's 4 main employer supports that we offer. All of them are free of charge, and all of them are suitable to both small companies and also large multinational companies as well. Okay, so the first employer service I'm going to talk to you about is our free recruitment service. So depending on your company's size, we can tailor our recruitment supports in order to meet your needs. So we can tailor our supports to meet the needs of a sole trader, for example, who might be looking to expand their workforce slowly, but does not have the capacity to manage a recruitment process, or a large company with multiple vacancies and maybe ongoing recruitment needs. So we work with like large multinationals like IKEA, for example, and small local corner shops. So everything from butchers and newsagents to small legal firms, and then big logistics and supply chain firms. So we work with a wide range of employers. So as part of our recruitment service, if needs be, we can run recruitment events. We can run these in conjunction with training boards also, where job seekers are invited to attend and meet employers. Example of this is in mid-October, I'm running a recruitment event in Coolock Library. I'm going to have 3 employers there. I'll have a local education training board there. And I'm hoping to have about 100 job seekers into the library over those 3 hours. So those job seekers will be matched to the vacancies that the employers are looking to fill. So yeah, so I would be hopeful to fill a number of vacancies over that afternoon. So that's an opportunity for employers to meet potential, fingers crossed, potentially up to 100 job seekers in one afternoon. We also have dedicated key accounts managers. So they operate nationally. They focus on key industries like hospitality or logistics, for example, and also healthcare. So we have a number of key account managers. They're all based in Dublin, but they operate nationally. If you have vacancies, we will promote them through a wide range of our networks, such as our local job coaches in the Intreo offices. So some of you are probably familiar. There's an Intreo office nearly in every county in Ireland. So there, and in every one of them, there's job coaches. And we will also promote it through local education training boards. We're also in contact with local community projects and youth groups. So, we also promote your vacancies across our online platform. So we have jobsireland.ie, we have a EURES website, which I'll tell you a little bit later, and also we have social media. Okay, so jobsireland.ie, that's our main website. This is used by both job seekers and employers. So job seekers create their profile to match their skills and experience with available jobs. This service is free of charge and includes a network of staff providing expert guidance on resources to both job seekers and employers. So it is one of the biggest and most popular jobs websites in Ireland. It is in the top 3 of jobs recruitment websites in Ireland. So it's one of the big players in that field. So you're guaranteed to get some views on your vacancies and matches. Once your vacancy is up on the website, your local employer relations officer will do a jobs match and message job seekers directly in your area and invite them to apply. And we can also manage recruitment processes through this. You can also manage your recruitment process through this Jobs Ireland portal. So you can invite them to apply directly through the portal. You can then shortlist them as applicants come in, and you can message the job seeker directly through that portal. So that's handy if you've got a busy mailbox and you want to keep this recruitment process separate from that mailbox. You can do it all on that portal. So that's popular with some employers. So any vacancy you make on jobsireland.ie is automatically advertised across the EU on our EURES portal. So EURES. So if you're an employer with a very specialist and you're struggling, specialist roles, and you're struggling to fill those roles, EURES might be able to assist you as they offer expert advice on recruiting in Europe. So EURES advisors, they're like an employer relations officer, but they focus on recruitment throughout Europe. They're available to assist employers by offering expert advice on recruiting in Europe. So all vacancies are advertised on EURES job mobility portal also, and that goes out to job seekers across Europe. So there are about 1,000 EURES advisors within the whole European network, and your local employer relations officer can help you link in with that service and access those advisors if needs be for a role you're struggling to fulfill for whatever reason. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk to you about is the Work Placement Experience Program. So that's a bit of a mouthful, so I'm going to be calling it WEP from now on. So I promote this a lot in the Blanchardstown and North Dublin area. I'm very fond of this particular program. So if you've tried to recruit for a position and have not found a suitable candidate, or you have the capacity to provide a job seeker with gain valuable work experience, the WEP program is a great option to consider. This program allows employers to host a job seeker on work experience placement for 6 months for 30 hours a week. During this time, the department will provide an uplift to their social welfare payment to a minimum of €326. So the program is intended to help job seekers build new skills and gain valuable work experience. There's absolutely no cost to the employer when they're hosting a job seeker on this program. So it is targeted at job seekers who are on certain social welfare payments for 6 months. And it is intended to give that job seeker the opportunity to gain work experience in a sector they have not previously worked in. So they can have an education background, for example, in an area, but they won't qualify if they've had professional experience. I suppose the idea of the program is to help people who haven't got the professional experience. If they've got the right qualifications and the professional experience, they'll probably go on and get a job without needing to engage with this program. So but yeah, they can have, say, they could be out of college, they could have a degree in marketing, but they for whatever reason haven't been able to get their foot in the door with a company to get that first step in the marketing world. So they would be an ideal and eligible candidate for a WEP. So yeah, I've been involved in setting up a WEP position for a lot of administrative positions at the moment, such as in HR or marketing or reception, or in more technical positions like in IT. There's been WEP placements in engineering companies or in kind of upholstery companies, for example. So there is a really, really wide range of positions that might be suitable for a WEP. So it could be something that you might be a great benefit to your business. It also works well because obviously taking on an employee, depending on your size, it can be a risk for an organization, and the WEP is a great way of getting to know a potential employee, as you will have the opportunity to work for them for 6 months. So in that 6 months, you'll have trained them up, and you'll really have a good idea on whether or not they are a good fit for your company by the end of the 6 months. In saying that, the WEP is totally voluntary. So this means the participant wants to work with you, and you obviously have to want to work with them. The program gives employers the opportunity to create extra capacity within the organization. As part of the WEP, you'll be required to provide training to the participant. So that training is essentially on-the-job training. The training is the job. So all the skills that you teach them over the 6 months, at the very start, we'll sit down and we'll go through the various aspects to the role, and that will fulfill the training obligation of the role. Now, there is also an obligation for 20 hours accredited training, but the department will assist you identify those 20 hours. So we're obviously linked in with the local training boards. We'll work with you to identify a course that will be suitable to help that participant. So don't be put off about the 20 hours. We'll be there to help you find that course. There's also there's also grants available for training course. So if there's a particular industry standard course that you feel the participant could really benefit from, and they feel it too, there's a grant of up to €1,000 that can go towards training, towards a training program like that. Another thing to mention is that this is a training position, so there is no contract of employment between you and the participant. So that's obviously very important, and because it's so important, we insist that no top-up payments are permitted, as this will create a contract of employment. Again, though, that's to manage risk for you and for yourselves. Employer eligibility. So you must have at least one employee to avail of this WEP program. So unfortunately, sole traders wouldn't qualify, but if they had one person on the payroll, then they would be able to take on a WEP participant. I should also mention that there's no obligation for the employer to go ahead with a placement if they don't get the right match. So essentially, if you work with an employer relations officer, you get the vacancy published and you get some applicants and you're looking at them and you don't feel like any of them are suitable for the position, it is totally voluntary for you and the participant, so you have no obligation to go through it if you don't think it's going to work out. So that's the WEP program. JobsPlus. So this is a financial incentive for employers to recruit full-time employees from the live register. So it's open to all employers in the private, community, and not-for-profit and voluntary sectors. It provides employers with 2 levels of payment between 7.5 and 10 grand over 2 years, with the level depending on the age of the job seeker and the length of time they were unemployed. This can work really well with the WEP. So participants who complete their WEP with you will also be eligible for this grant if you decide to go on and hire them after the WEP. So the position on offer to qualify for the JobsPlus must be 30 hours minimum a week, and the employee must be on the payroll subject to PAYE and all that. So the job seeker must have been unemployed for 4 months or 104 days in the previous 6 months. So you don't have to have done a WEP. This can be any person who you're hiring. If it so happens they have been unemployed for the previous 4 months, they will qualify for this grant. So I know that 7.5 grand means a different thing to different companies depending on their size, but it goes without saying that could take the sting out of a heating bill, or it could be a big bump to your budget for your training for other employees, for example. So that's JobsPlus. Okay, so workplace supports for people with disabilities. So there are a number of government supports which are in place to encourage employees to employ a person with a disability, or to insist an employer retain staff who become ill and they acquire a condition or impairment, occupational or otherwise, that affects their ability to carry out their job. So you might never ever need to avail of this, but in a couple of years' time, if someone became ill in your staff, this could be something that might really help you keep them on. First up is the wage subsidy scheme. So this is a financial incentive to private sector employers to help people with a disability. So if this current scheme now is not suitable for current employees. The work offered must be a minimum of 21 hours per week, and the subsidy is available up to 39 hours per week. An employee with a disability on the scheme has the same conditions of employment as any other employee. The employer must pay the employee the going rate for the job, essentially, and it must be minimum wage. The wage subsidy scheme will provide you €6.30 per hour towards that employee wage. So that can be a great help to companies and a great encouragement to employ someone with a disability. The Workplace Equipment Adaptation Grant. This grant is designed for people with a disability who've been offered employment or about to be redeployed, promoted, or become self-employed. So examples of adaptations that this grant could be used for. This can be used towards physical modifications to the building, such as ramps or toilet facilities, or it can be used for computer equipment such as voice synthesizers or amplifiers for telephones and stuff like that. So it can be used for physical equipment or physical adaptations to your premises. Another scheme is the Employee Retention Grant Scheme. This again help private sector employers keep employees who have acquired an illness or an impairment, and it can be occupational otherwise, that affects their ability to carry out their job. So the grant helps employers explore, keeping them on in their current job or retraining them into a different role. So it can be used to identify certain accommodations or training so that they can stay in their current position, but it also can be used to help retrain them into a different role in the company. So it can be used, for example, to engage workplace physiotherapists, for example. That can be an expensive service to access. This grant is designed to help you access that. And the last one I'm going to talk to you about is the Disability Awareness Support Grant. So this grant provides a maximum of €20,000 funding for private sector employers to arrange and pay for disability awareness training for staff to work with a colleague who has a disability. So, okay, thank you. So those are the main supports that Intreo offer. Again, I think the services work best when an employer reaches out to their local employment relations officer. So as I said at the start, there's one of them in every county in Ireland. And if you need to get in touch with one, you can email me at owen.stapleton@welfare.ie, or you can email employer@welfare.ie. If you Google Employer Relations Officer Intreo, you will find out, you will find on that all our contact details and our phone numbers also. So all the services are, if you reach out and ring your local ERO, you will be linked in with all of those services and given further advice. You can call them up, and if any of them you feel will be a benefit to your company, you can explore it more in full with them. So I'm happy to take any questions now if anyone has anything.
Owen, thank you very much for that. And I should just say to the audience that I met Owen at a Fingal Chamber event there some months ago, and I have to say I was completely ignorant to all of the services that were available out there, and so hence why we decided to host this webinar, I suppose, was to enlighten other people. A couple of questions there, Owen, if you don't mind me going back through. You mentioned something about the 60 hours training and the 20 hours accredited. Does that mean that the company has to give 60 hours across the 6 months, and the 20 hours, it must be of some accreditation?
So I suppose 40 of those hours must be designated towards training. So what that's envisaged towards, we don't want someone going into a wet position and them learning one specific role and they're staying at it for 6 months. So it's designed so that we will work with you to kind of create a program of the various different professional work experience they will gather. So that 40 hours is on the job training. So if you had a marketing position or HR position, you would list all the main duties of a HR, a general administrator, and you will go through the role with them. They will learn. So you can break that down. So it's on the job training. It's not necessarily them sitting in front of a PowerPoint presentation while you train them. It is just a kind of a coaching role, really, those 40 hours. And the 20 hours, yeah, that's accredited, but like there is so many courses out there that will be able to help link you up with that.
So we could consider, as an employer myself, we could consider the likes of SkillNet, maybe that few of those courses would be, and we have €1,000 to contribute towards that cost.
Yeah, exactly. So there might some positions, some roles might have a really specific industry standard course that your local training board is not going to be able to fulfill, so that €1,000 can be then used to apply for those courses. So
and imagine we were in the 5 months and we decided we were keeping the person on, but we couldn't get that accredited training scheduled until the 8th month. Either the course is not available or the person, whatever the reasons might come about. Would that £1,000 be allowed to be taken past the 6 months?
Well, no, it wouldn't be, because at 6 months the program would end. There's talk of it being extended to 9 months, but at presently it ends at 6 months now. I suppose in that scenario, if you were heavily invested in the person and you wanted to take them on, you could then apply for the JobsPlus grant, take them on as an employee and apply for the JobsPlus, and you could use some of that grant to pay for some training for them or for your employees. But yeah, no, it definitely finishes after 6 months.
No, that's great. And there is a contract, just you mentioned JobsPlus there is a contract with JobsPlus. Because I know you said there's no contract with the WPP.
Yeah, there's no contract of employment while they're on the WEP program. But once, if to avail of JobsPlus, then that needs to be you then taking the step to hire them into a full-time position. So that is a PAYE, PRSI, paid job. So everything that it involves, everything to come with that. So, but the JobsPlus then can be applied for during that process.
Okay. And can I just ask there, sorry, these are just a couple of questions coming in. Sorry for, if these need to be taken offline, there's no problem. I'm sure you can deal with them, but while we have a couple of minutes there. What's coming there? Types of job seekers that usually apply for the work placement program.
So yeah, it's a wide range of people who would apply, and we would get a lot of young people who have quite high educational backgrounds and are struggling for whatever reason to get their foot into the door with a company. So you could have people with degrees applying, young people that have yet to enter the jobs market. And you get a lot of people, maybe like you can have someone with they could have been a manager with a shop, a big supermarket chain, and they've decided that they no longer, for whatever reason, are interested in that line of work, and they're looking to get into something a little bit more administrative, a little bit more 9 to 5, for example, and they don't have any skill sets, particularly any work experience, but they're going to bring a lot of other skill sets to your company because they have been working for so long as a manager, for example, in a large supermarket. And so, you can get all sorts of people applying. We tend to get good candidates for the WEP because it is totally voluntary. And they have to really want to work with your company, and they're looking to reorientate themselves in the jobs market and get some good experience. Like I had a guy who had a degree in HR, but a Brazilian guy who was over here for a year learning English. His English was obviously now up to scratch, and he wanted to now fall back on his HR degree and work for a company in Ireland. So he was a great candidate for a WEP position with a large company. So, so they're the type of people we get for WEP.
Okay. Are there limits to the candidates that an employer can host?
On the WEP, yes, there are. So you have to have at least one employee, and if you're between 1 and 10, you can have one WEP. If you've over 10 people, you can have 2 WEPs, all the way up to 10 WEPs in total. So if you're quite a large company with over 50 employees or 100 employees, you can have 10 WEPs at any one time. The only thing you can't, so you can have a WEP as soon as that WEP finishes. There's a waiting time of 3 months before the next WEP position can begin. So that's just, we don't want employers relying too heavily on the WEP.
Yeah.
So if there really is a need for that position to be filled by an employee, we're trying to encourage that. The WEP can't be used to displace an employee. It's to get that person into a job or to get them at least work experience. And it's important to mention you're not obliged to keep them on or to hire them as an employee after the WEP finishes.
Yeah.
At that point, you've given them all that professional experience. You may not have the capacity to hire just because for whatever reason.
And I suppose you don't want to imbalance the workplace where you've got more trainees than experience, which hence the 1 to 10. That makes absolutely perfect sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Does the EURES provide any additional support other than the advertising?
Yeah, so obviously, if, for example, you have a very hard to fill role and you've gone out to Europe and you have an applicant, that person can apply for a cost towards the interviewing process. There's also, depending on the role, there's also translator costs that can be applied for, and there's also relocation costs that can be applied for as well. So if if you identify someone through that EURES, there is a number of kind of grants for both the employer and the job seeker to help them relocate to Ireland. So,
wow. Okay. Actually, I was
yeah,
completely unaware of that service. That
yeah, well,
is.
it's not going to move the dial. Like, obviously accommodation is a huge issue. Like,
Yeah.
we're not talking huge numbers, but there is some grants that will help.
No, that's fair enough. And just going back to the JobsPlus, somebody's asking there, is that provided tax free? Because we all like our
Yes.
little bit of tax free,
Yeah.
don't we?
Tax free, provided you don't immediately pass it on to the employee you've just hired. They would have to pay tax on that, but it is tax free for the employer.
Into
So,
the company.
yeah,
Into the company. Yeah.
company.
Yeah, well, I have to say, we've actually engaged in the service just for the benefit of the audience there. So we're in the process of looking at that web kind of situation, and please God, we'll be looking into the JobsPlus. I think it's a great opportunity, and I have to say I was completely unaware of the service out there. So I think we'll certainly have more questions after this, and I'd welcome you back in the new year there, and we can stay updated on any of those items that have maybe changed or anything like that, or some additional things. So what we'll do is we'll certainly share around your PowerPoint if you don't have an issue with that, and yeah, anybody can get us on the Pimbrook website as well if they want to download the recording of that. But Owen, once again, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out, and I'm sure we'll be in touch there with more questions.
Brilliant. No, thank you. It's been great to get the message out on all these supports. So cheers. Thank you.
Absolutely, as we should do. All right, and thank you to the audience there for attending. If you need any information, you can contact myself, Gavin, or sales@pimbrook.ie. Right, take care. Bye-bye.